Okay, I think it is 11 on the dot, and I think we will kick off now, just because we've had people in the chat room since about 10:30 and it'll be unfair on them. So yes. Good morning, everyone again. Thank you for your time today. My name is Omomi Olarire from the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, and I currently head the Business Support Unit. Thank you for your time this morning, and thank you to our partners, Stanbic IBTC, for putting this together for us as well. And thank you to all the attendees. And so who are we, LSETF? The Lagos State Employment Trust Fund is an agency of the Lagos State government, which was set up in 2016 to tackle the youth unemployment rate. And our core mandate is this: job creation. So we believe that the more jobs that are created, the more, the ecosystem, the MSME ecosystem is enriched. And how do we do this? Our work currently rests on three predominant pillars, amongst others. And these are access to affordable finance, access to market, which entails you getting your goods, product, or service from A to Z. A being you, the vendor, and Z being the client or your customer. And then we also have the third predominant pillar, which is capacity building. And so for us at LSETF, having marked our 5th birthday in March, we realized very quickly that it's not always about injecting capital into your business that ensures that that business is successful, which is why we are quickly trying to change the narrative of people knowing LSETF as a loan-giving or institution or organization to one that also handholds these MSMEs and helps them, capacity builds, trains them up, skills, acquisitions of skills and things like that, so that they can run their businesses better. And so that is one of the reasons why we have embarked on this partnership with Stanbic IBTC today. We are here in collaboration with them to bring to you another sort of training course, or like a financial fitness academy, where we ensure that once you've gone through this, you are further better enhanced to run your business better, manage your finances better, and just pretty much work better and more effectively. And so without further ado, I am going to pass this center stage onto our partners, Stanbic IBTC, who will take us through what I believe will be a very informative, interactive, and educative session today. So thank you very much, everyone. Sit back, relax, and please, as we go on in the course, do drop your questions in the Q&A box, and these will be answered at the end of this presentation. So thank you very much for joining today. John, over to you. You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Omomi, and thank you everyone for joining. Omomi, I would crave your indulgence to enable the share feature so we can share our presentation slides. We're very excited to be here, and thank you very much. I want to say quickly to everybody that is on the call to please ensure that your devices are muted and that your devices, the videos, are also turned off, so we can all have a good experience, please. Thank you very much. So you're welcome to our Financial Fitness Academy. That's what we call it. It's a free session organized by Stanbic IBTC in partnership with Lagos SETF, to ensure that we bring financial knowledge to everybody, as much as possible. Now, we do this periodically with different partners, and we want to say that we are very, very glad to have every one of you on this call. Now, this Financial Fitness Academy, over the years, we have found that it's been very, very useful for a lot of people. And that's because what we do with the Financial Fitness Academy is to try to help people think differently about their finances. So we all have ideas around wealth and around how to make money, how to spend money and what we should be doing with our funds. But then during the Financial Fitness Academy, we're able to challenge some of the assumptions that we have. And then we are also able to show a different way or a different perspective to wealth management. And so we would encourage everybody to please sit down and relax and pay attention for the next hour and a half, and let's just take you on this journey. And we promise you that it's going to be a really exciting time. Now, before we kick off with the session, I have a couple of my colleagues on the call, and I'd like to quickly introduce them. My name is John Okwelege. I'm the head of micropension at Stanbic IBTC Pension Managers, and co-facilitating this session with me is my colleague Olubunmi Oyeton. He's a business development manager at Stanbic IBTC Pensions. Olubunmi, please say hi to everyone.
Hello, good morning, everybody. Glad to be here.
Thank you, Olubunmi. Also on the call are two beautiful ladies who would also be co-facilitating with us today and be sharing some practical insights from their real life experience with us to further drive home some of the points that we'll be sharing today. So I have Anita Daly-Dixon on the call. She's one of our panelists today. Anita, please turn on your video and say hi to everyone.
Good morning, everyone. It's good to be here.
Thank you, Anita. And finally, I have Chidima as well. Chidima, please turn on your video and say hi to everyone.
Good morning, everyone. I'm happy to be here. Thank you. John, over to you.
Much. Thank you so much, Chidima. And they're beautiful, beautiful women with powerful insights to share with us today. So thank you, Chidima. Thank you, Anita. And thank you, Bumi. It promises to be an exciting time. Finally, before we go into the session proper, we want to encourage everyone on the call to please go to the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store and download a QR code reader. Now, the QR code reader is to enable you scan this QR code that will come up intermittently during our presentation. Also, the URL that you see there would be posted in the chat area, just in case you're unable to download the QR code. Now, the purpose of this QR code or the URL is for you in the course of this program, as you reflect on your life and you reflect on your wealth journey and your finances, to go into the form. It's a very simple form that enables you indicate areas in which you would like us to provide some more clarity or give more answers. And then what then happens is after the session, we will get our experts to reach out to you between 24 to 48 hours after the session. So if you use the QR code during the session or you click on the URL link during the session, based on the things that we're going to share today, if you have further inquiries or you have concerns or there are areas in which you want us to support you in terms of your wealth journey, then our experts would reach out to you based on the information that you provided via the QR code or the URL link within the next 24 to 48 hours. So it promises to be an exciting time. I know I've said that a couple of times already, but I am truly excited to be here. And I promise you that you are going to have a great time. Now, the wealth framework is what we're going to be introducing to you today. And what you see on the screen right now is what that wealth framework is about. Now, I'm going to come back later and tell us a bit more about this wealth framework. But right now, it's important to remember two things. That based on the wealth framework, wealth is about creating value and giving purpose to your life. Creating value and giving purpose to your life. Now, in simple layman terms, what we mean is that wealth is about making money and spending money. So wealth is about making money and spending money. So making money is about creating value, and then spending money is about giving purpose to your life. And right smack in the middle of our wealth framework is you and your family. Again, what this means to us is that wealth is about you and your family. So I want you to keep these three things in mind. And right now, I'm going to call on Olubunmi Oyetan to just talk to us quickly about the philosophy around this wealth framework, and then I'll come back to unpack the wealth framework. Olubunmi, over to you.
Thank you so much for that, John. We're going to get right into it, ladies and gentlemen. So the wealth framework is based on 5 beliefs, and here they are. First is to start with the end in mind. Whenever you go on a journey, the first thing you ask yourself is, okay, where am I going to? And once you know where your destination is, then you will plan the route and the journey of how you will get there. So it's the same thing for your wealth journey. Whenever you're planning it, you need to know, where do I want to end up? Where do I want to be in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, in 50 years' time when I retire? What do I want to be doing? It's also about your life's purpose. You cannot separate your wealth journey from your life journey. The two are intertwined and they run side by side. They're not mutually exclusive. They are actually part of a whole. It's a lifelong journey. And that journey starts from when you are born, and it only ends when you pass on. Everything in between covers your wealth journey. Also, risk is relative. So what I would think has risk and I would not want to take, John, for instance, will be comfortable taking it because his circumstances are different from mine. And everybody is unique. So everybody's risk appetite is different. And lastly, like John said in that wealth framework, right at the center, is that it is about you and your family. And you're unique. There is none like you. There's no photocopy, as they say. Now, there's this quote by Dr. Peter Senge from MIT, and he said, tension always seeks to resolve itself to the more stable state. So just to give you an example of what he was talking about, I hope you can see my hands and the rubber band, which is mirroring the image you see on the right. So my right hand above is your preferred future, and the lower hand is your current reality. So this is where you want to be against where you are today. And in between, you've got that creative tension. And this is what happens when you have a goal, a dream, a vision. That is it up here. You aim towards it. And as you plan and as you achieve it in little bits and pieces, this is what happens. Your current reality meets up with your future state. And then what happens? Boom, you start that journey again with a new goal and a new dream. However, there's a flip side to it. If you have a goal, you have a vision, you have a dream, and you don't do anything about it, what we like to call wishful thinking, this is what happens. Your preferred future actually comes down to meet your current reality, and nothing happens. So the message from Dr. Peter Senge here is, have a goal, have a dream, have a vision, or more importantly, plan towards achieving those goals. Wow. I love these images right in front of us. It speaks to your money personality. So the question is this: which money personality are you? Are you the wary one? That is the one that is always stressing, always fussing, always overthinking and overanalyzing every expenditure before you make it. Analysis paralysis, it's sometimes called. Do you overthink everything? Is that you? Or are you the entrepreneur where everything that you see, you just see opportunity, you just see value, you just see, how can I turn this into something that can make me money either today or tomorrow? Do you have that drive? Some people, it comes naturally. For others, they actually have to train themselves towards it. Or are you the big spender? And there's absolutely nothing wrong with being a big spender. We need big spenders actually, but it's important that you plan before you spend. Because if you spend all that you earn, then that will be a problem and you will struggle on your wealth journey. Or are you the smart one where you balance, thinking before you spend and spending when you actually need to spend? You can be a mix of all these different personalities, but it's important that you know which you are and you plan towards each one appropriately. Now, like I said, your wealth journey is your life journey. And it starts from, when you go to school, you graduate from school, you become, a young and upcoming citizen, you finish your NYSC and you get into the workforce. At this point in time, start thinking about, okay, how can I start to build my wealth? How can I start to plan my future? Things like writing a will, which ordinarily we don't think of at that stage, but it's something that we should start thinking about. Writing a budget. How do I spend what I earn? And as you start to move up the career ladder, you now start to get a bit more aggressive in your saving and your investing. Because at this time, you're now getting a little older, you're now getting a little smarter, you're now thinking about buying assets, whatever those assets may be, whether it's a property, whether it's a car, whatever it is. And then as you progress on that, your life journey, you then get married, you now have a partner, you then update your will, now start thinking about, okay, the other person and how to cater for them. Of course, you then switch to parenthood where you now have children and now thinking about, okay, how do I budget and plan for their school fees, primary, secondary, university, start thinking a bit more about your retirement, start thinking about, okay, how do I become more financially independent? And then you then graduate to retirement and your pension, start thinking about my retirement is upcoming, I'm turning 50, 60, and all those kind of thoughts start to come to you. So really that journey is one that starts, like I said, from when you're born all the way through till when you pass on and everything in between. So this just shows us how that journey and how your priorities change as you go along. Now, remember, we're talking about the wealth framework, and you keep seeing this image over and over again. Remember what John said? It's about creating value and giving purpose. You're either making money or spending money. Fantastic. Right.
Thank you, Bumi.
So,
Thank you so much.
over to you, John.
Thank you, Bumi. And thank you for taking us through the philosophy. For a minute there, I thought I lost you, but I'm glad we're back. So welcome back, everyone. This is the Wealth Framework, and this is what we're going to be talking about. Now, Bumi has taken us on the different philosophy, and I hope that as he spoke, you were reflecting on your money personality type. Please go into the chat area and use the chat button to interact with us. We would like to know the type of money personalities that you have. And remember that the idea of the money personalities really is about you understanding and being honest with yourself so you can build good financial habits that would then help you achieve your goals. So the wealth framework, again, is about two main things. Do we remember what these things are? Yes, exactly. So we said it's about making money and it's about spending money. So wealth is about making money and it's about spending money. So all we are going to be talking about today really is how to make money and how to spend money in a way that benefits you and your family. And so we've broken this into four main quadrants. So there's the create and build and the save and invest, which talks to thinking about different ways to make money or create value. And then we have the live and enjoy and the share and legacy bit, which speaks to how to spend money or give your life purpose. And then the ribbon, the blue ribbon that ties it all together is, we call that plan and protect. And in that segment, we will quickly talk to you about how to protect your hard-earned money so that it doesn't get eroded. So let's get on with this journey right away. And I will start off by explaining to us what the create and build piece is about. Now, remember, wealth is about making money and spending money. And so the create and build segment speaks to the making money bit. And what we are saying in this segment is that there are different journeys to making or building wealth. Now we have the entrepreneurs, we have the corporate employees, we have the self-employed professionals, and we have people who perhaps got bequeathed an inheritance and so they earn passive income. Now you agree with me that each of these 4 categories have different ways in which they make money, and their wealth journeys are not necessarily the same. Typically, an entrepreneur has a very volatile journey. Sometimes they have money, sometimes they don't. Monies are irregular, they don't come in all at once. But then if they stick to it and they keep at it, what typically happens is they build a powerful empire, they build a big business eventually, that people then get employed, and then they now have stable income, and they become known as very rich or very influential people in society and the like. So there are different journeys to making money. For those of us that are corporate employees, we start out on the lower rung of the ladder, but our salaries are consistent, and year on year or every other year, we get promoted and we move up that ladder, and before long, we've accumulated a lot of wealth. So there are different journeys, but it's important to understand the particular journey you are on in making or building wealth, so that you can position yourself for success. And the way to achieve this success is to ensure that you're investing in yourself, that you stay relevant and you stay focused, because there are no shortcuts. Now, based on what I just explained to us, this chart basically just summarizes it and shows us how the net worth of each of these individuals increases over time based on the particular wealth creation journey that they are on. Now, what is important is for us to remember that dreams plus hard work plus dedication and perseverance would ultimately lead to success. So right about now, I'm going to call on the beautiful Chidima, who is one of our panelists, to please turn on your video as we engage you for some insights from your own personal life. So Chidima, how are you?
Wonderful.
I want to just ask you that, reflecting on your own life, how would you say the wealth framework and financial planning have helped you in refining or achieving your goals in terms of your financial journey? So Chidima, over to you.
Thank you very much, John. And thank you once again, everybody, for joining this session. So reflecting on this bit of the wealth framework, which is to create and build, I'd just like to share a very personal experience with you, like an insight. And I hope that will get us thinking. So 3 or 4 years ago, around my career journey, there was this certification I had been, in my mind, making up my mind to get that certification done. Now, one of the reasons that propelled me or delayed me from jumping at it and set in motion was because of the financial bit of getting that certification done. So we know that, it's typically almost difficult for most Nigerians to bring out a lump sum of money to achieve a certain goal. So what did I do? I deliberately told myself that this year was the year, because not only did I want to get that certification, looking ahead, some of the applications that I had done in particular job roles, they were requiring that certification. So I said to myself, it was about time. So what did I do? I deliberately told myself that because of the nature of my job then, I was literally working around the clock. I said to myself, you know what, when the entire family members have gone to bed, I will give 2 hours of my time. I started putting resources aside, denying myself of certain pleasures that I used to indulge in at the time. And eventually, with dedication, perseverance, trust me, it wasn't easy. I eventually today proudly said that I got that certification. It took me a period of like 9 months to put it all together. And with dedication, like John, my colleague, had shared, perseverance, success is right in front of you. And I proudly say that that certification also earned me a job role in which I'm happily doing today. So it's just to say that it has really, set the goal running for me, and I really achieved my set goal 2-3 years ago. Thank you very much. Over to you, John.
Thank you so much, Chidima, for that very, very succinct insight from your personal life. And I think the key takeaway from that is that we shouldn't give up on our dreams and we should plan. And sometimes, like you mentioned, it's not something that typically we can do overnight. And I think that was one of the philosophies that Bumi shared, that wealth is a lifelong journey. And so, boy, if we work at it with perseverance and dedication, we will achieve it. So thank you so much, Chidima. Thank you so much. And I hope that our audience picked one or two things from that story that Chidima shared, with us. So quickly, we're going to take about 30 seconds off now and reflect on a few questions. The first question is, how do you currently create wealth? How do you currently create wealth? So what do you do currently to make money? And the second question is that you should think of ways you can leverage your skill sets to increase your value in the marketplace. Now, this particular question is very, very important because last year, COVID-19 happened. Nobody was expecting it. A lot of people lost their jobs, but then some people got very inventive and creative, and they were able to leverage skill sets, to increase their value in the marketplace. And while other people were shouting, and complaining, these people were making a lot of money, as it were. So it's important that we reflect on this as well. How can you leverage your skill sets to increase your value in the marketplace? And finally, we would like you to think of things that could affect your ability to make money. So risks to your ability to make money. So I'm going to give us 30 seconds to just do a quick reflection on these questions, and then we will come back and round up this session, and then I'll call my colleague to come and share the next session with us. So please, let's reflect on this right away. And we are back. So I hope you got some thinking done regarding these questions. They're very, very interesting questions that as we reflect on them, it might help us, in terms of our wealth journey. Finally, I'll leave you with this quote from Jim Rohn, and it says that we get paid for bringing value to the marketplace. So we get paid for the value and not the time. Olubumi, can you please turn on your video? Okay, great. So I'm going to be handing over to Olubumi now to unpack the second quadrant of this framework, which speaks to the making money bit. How do you make money? Olubumi, over to you.
Thank you very much for that, John. So this is the second quadrant of the wealth framework, which is live and enjoy. So how do you spend your money? Remember the wealth framework, you're either making money or spending money. So this is the spend portion of that framework. Do you live a life you can afford? Now, this is a fundamental question that we all need to ask ourselves. And as a follow-up to that question, I usually ask, if today you lost your job or whatever it is that was giving you that regular steady income, do you have enough resources so that you can still meet all your current obligations for the next 3 months, for the next 6 months, or for the next 12 months? If you can do that, then you're doing very well on your wealth journey. However, if you're in a position where you cannot say that comfortably, now is the time to start thinking, about it a bit more. So this framework really speaks to things like, how do you budget? Do you do a budget on a monthly basis? If you don't, I would encourage you to do that. And it's not very difficult. I mean, there are so many apps that you can download online, or you can just do a very simple Excel sheet, which is what I use. Very simple Excel sheet. And it has money coming in, which is your income. So there's salary, there's interest income from investments. If you have a property where you get rent from, all that, you put it together. And then you have your expenses, which are broken down into either fixed, those expenses you cannot do without, the variable, the ones that are on and off, and unforeseen. You know, it's important that you do this exercise because you'll be amazed to see where your money is going when you put it down. And we recommend that as part of your monthly budget, let 50% as an upper limit be what you spend on your fixed costs. So things like rent, travel, and the like, those things you absolutely have to do. You have to pay school fees if you have children. So as much as possible, let it not exceed 50%. If it's 70, 80, 90% of what you earn, then you really need to look at, you know, where you live. Am I living in a place I can afford? Am I doing things that I can afford? And these are the questions that you need to ask yourself when you do this exercise. So things like your variable costs are, you know, communication, data, entertainment, going to the cinema, you know, and you have your unforeseen expenses as well. Maybe there's one emergency that happens and you need to just cough out money. Let it not exceed 30%. And we say leave at least 20% towards your financial goals. We say pay yourself first. That's what we call that 20%. But it's not cast in stone. If you can make that 30%, great. I know somebody whose percentage of their savings towards their financial goals is actually 50%, which is just, you know, amazing. Back to, so yes, moving on, we're going to go into good assets and bad assets. The simple definition is this. What is a good asset? A good asset generates income and increases in value, whilst a bad asset does not generate income and decreases in value. So those are the baseline definitions. So these are the questions now. Do you think a smartphone is a good asset or a bad asset? So please, this is for all of us to get involved. Go to the chat room and just type very quickly, smartphone equals good asset. Smartphone equals bad asset. Very simple question. So that's question one. Second question, do you think a boat is a good asset or a bad asset? I see some responses. Alani said, smartphone, good asset. Great. Keep those responses coming. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. So second question, is a boat a good asset or a bad asset? Now, the last question, which is always a tricky one and controversial one. Do you think a holiday is a good asset or a bad asset? Oh, sorry. The second question was, do you think a boat is a good asset or a bad asset? So boat, good asset or bad asset? And then the third and final question is a holiday. Do you think a holiday is a good asset or a bad asset? By holiday, I mean, you know, buying your tickets, you and your family, you travel to the abroad, as we say, you know, you spend money in foreign currency, you go back, you know, enjoy yourself, have a good time, and then come back. It's important that you know the reason behind these purchases, which will determine whether it is a good asset or a bad asset. So is a smartphone a good asset or a bad asset? The question is, it can be either. It depends on the purpose. If you're using a 350,000 naira phone or 500,000 naira phone, I didn't know phones were even that expensive, and all you're doing is going on Twitter, Instagram, posting pictures, and you know, chatting about the latest trend in town, that's not a good asset. But if you're using your phone to build an app, you're using your phone to sell merchandise, you're using your phone to connect with clients and make money, then it's definitely a good asset. Same thing for the boat. If your boat is ferrying people from Ikoyi, Falomo to Korodu and back, it is a good asset. But if it's just parked in front of the pier, you know, money is being spent waxing it every day and paying demurrage charges for it to be parked there, then that is a bad asset. As for the holiday, like I said, it's a controversial one. It's neither a good nor a bad asset, but the idea is that what? You plan before you spend. because it's not good if you go because you want to go on a holiday. By the time you finish spending on the holiday, you come back and you're struggling to pay your children's school fees at the beginning of the new term. Then that doesn't make good financial sense. So really, this exercise is just to get us to think before you spend. Am I spending on a good asset or am I spending on a bad asset? Of course, you want to spend more on a good asset because that is how you build and grow, on your wealth journey and the wealth framework. Now we're going to speak about the flip side, which is debt. If you earn 100 naira and you spend 100 naira, then you will struggle to meet, achieve your financial goals and your dreams. It'll be very, very difficult because you're spending everything that you earn. Remember what we said about the budgeting? Try and keep at least 20% towards investing in something that will get you closer towards your financial goals. If you earn 100 naira and you spend 120 naira, then you're going to end up in debt. And it can be a crippling place to be. So, you have to, and if you are in debt, it's important that you read the blueprint, be aware of hidden costs. Read everything in that contract before you sign it. Look at the interest rates, look at any penalties that you would pay. Think really long and hard. Don't go into debt to fund your lifestyle. Go into debt if you're going to acquire an asset that will yield you, an income tomorrow, because that asset has to be growing in value. Because remember, you have to pay back that debt. So one of the things you can do if you are in debt, these are just a few suggestions from us, tackle those that have high interest rates because it's, literally you're burying yourself even deeper. Pay off credit cards immediately. And the reason is very simple. The interest rates on credit cards can be very crippling. Consider debt consolidation or counseling. You can talk to financial planners who can help you with this. Also sell assets that are lying fallow that you don't really need or use for cash and get that liquidity to offset some of those, loans. Most importantly, don't add more debt to the pile. If you're already in the hole, as they say, you don't want to dig yourself even deeper into the hole. You really want to try and be coming out. So don't add more debt. Fantastic. Moving on to the next slide. Oh, I think screen seems to be hanging. Okay, great. Now I'm going to call my colleague Chidinma, who's going to give us an insight in her personal experience. Oh, Anita. Sorry. Hi, Anita. Now, when it comes to choosing a lifestyle, would you say that people in Nigeria typically live a life that they can afford? Over to you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Bumi, for that question. The truth is, it depends. It depends on the people. But what I typically find across board, so more often than not, is people are trying to keep up with the Joneses. And that means that they're not being intentional about their wealth journey. They're not taking time to think about their wealth journey. So Bumi goes on to buy a Jeep and John says, Bumi is my contemporary. I have to go buy a Jeep, without thinking about the fact that, oh, maybe Bumi just got a windfall. Bumi is doing a side business that is giving him some more money other than his salary. So we have found out that the wealth journey is individual to you. And you're not about comparing yourself with Mr. A or Mr. B. You're looking at your own space and asking yourself, how can I create value and how can I give purpose? So I think that for the most part, Nigerians are living beyond their means. For a lot of Nigerians, yeah. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for that wonderful insight, Anita. And like she said, it's important that you don't keep up with the Joneses. Be yourself. Remember the Wealth Framework philosophy, you and your family are unique. So a quick exercise for all of us, it's just to take a note of how we spend our money. So how much of your income are you spending on transportation, on your hobbies, on your family? I know there was a question I saw in the chat room about spending a certain percentage on family commitments and all whatnot. You have to be intentional about it, and you have to set a limit, because if not, you will adversely affect your ability to achieve your own goals and your own dreams. So you have to be selfish about that. Remember what we said, that 20% at least, pay yourself first before you then deal with all the other obligations. And there's that wonderful quote by Will Rogers, which says, too many people spend money they earn to buy things they don't want, to impress people they don't like. I remember the first time I saw this quote, I felt as if it was speaking to us in Nigeria, because this is something that we do a lot of. But it's a fantastic quote, for us to take away. Remember the wealth framework: creating value, giving purpose. So the QR code, for those who did not join us from the beginning, please, that is the code there. I posted in the chat room. We'll post it again. Just download it, fill out the forms, after the session, give us, feedback from you in terms of your wealth journey. Now, I'm going to hand you over back to John to take the next bit of the wealth framework. Over to you, John.
Thank you, Bumi. Thank you so much, Bumi. And thank you, Anita, for that insight. Keeping up with the Joneses. I mean, I love that quote from Will Rogers. Too many people earn money, and then they now spend the monies they don't have to impress people that they don't like. It's ridiculous. And we hope that you are having a good time so far. And we also hope that you're learning very, very useful insights as you think about living a life you can afford. I mean, it's very, very important. So remember that the wealth framework is really about two things. It's about making money and it's about spending money. The making money piece is about creating value. The spending money piece is about giving purpose to your life. Now, save and invest, which is the third quadrant, is part of the making money piece. And so we've talked about how to create and build, and we've talked about how to live a life that we can afford and enjoy our money. Now let's talk quickly about how to save and invest with a view to grow our wealth even further. Now, the whole idea of saving and investing is so that we can achieve what is called financial independence. Now, I was with a friend recently, and she was saying to me that, John, now I see the importance of savings, because if you save and you invest, you are able to take advantage of huge opportunities. So an opportunity presented itself recently, and because she had enough money saved up, she was actually able to drop cash. And because she was able to drop cash, she was then able to actually negotiate the price downwards, because the person that was selling was desperate and needed people that could, part with cash. And so having saved some monies and having some cash, on hand, she was able to then negotiate and get a better and cheaper rate for the thing. And she gave cash for it as against the asking price. So it's interesting. And financial independence is a state in which you don't have to worry about anything that money can buy, because you have money to take care of those things. And I'm sure every one of us wants to be in that state where, we are not worried about anything that money can buy. The way to do that is for us to identify and save for multiple specific long-term goals. I cannot overemphasize that. We need to identify and save for multiple specific long-term goals. So what are those things that you would like to achieve? Do you want your kids to school overseas? Are you planning to start a business when you retire? What is it that you want to do? Are you getting ready to get married in the next 1 or 2 years? What are those plans that you have? It's important to identify them and to save towards specific long-term goals. And that's the way to achieve financial independence. Now, this is a very, very important quote from Warren Buffett. I would encourage everybody on this call to please take your devices and snap this or do a screenshot of this particular quote, because I bet you this is one of the quotes to remember for a very, very long time. And what does Warren Buffett say? He says, do not save what is left after spending, but spend what is left after saving. Why is this quote important? This quote speaks to the root of the problem that a lot of people have with savings. Now, you agree with me that on the average, when we're expecting monies, we all make plans to save. We will be telling ourselves, oh, I'm going to save this amount out of this money. This is what I will save it. This is how I will invest it so that I will have some money to do X, Y, Z. But alas, when the money comes, what then happens is we start spending. We just start spending. Do you understand? This obligation comes, that obligation comes. In fact, you will agree with me that it's almost as if people around us have this super smell. They're able to know that you have money. So immediately these people will come and start asking you for money here, money there. Before long, the money is gone, or midway into spending, you just remember that, I have not saved anything. Then you now look back and say, but I cannot save anymore right now because I don't have enough money left and I still have so many things to pay for. Then you now tell yourself, okay, the next time I get a cash event or the next time I get an income, I will save. But you and I know that it doesn't work that way, because the next time we start spending again, and we're unable to save again. That's why this quote from Warren Buffett is so simple but very powerful. Do not save what is left after spending. So it's almost like tithing for those of us that are of the Christian faith and tithe, for instance. You know how people, religiously take out 10% of their income and contribute it as tithe. If you apply that same discipline, for instance, to saving before spending, who knows, you might just be the next Warren Buffett of Nigeria. So I hope you took a screenshot of this quote, because remember, we said that wealth is about you and your family. So we are hoping that after this session, you will go and have conversations with your wives, with your husbands, with your children, and share some of this information, with them. Now, I've highlighted some of the reasons why it's good to save and invest, so I'm not going to overflog it. But perhaps one of the more important things to say is that you can have enough money to put your children through schools if you save. And of course, you can earn a return on your money. Now, there's a popular saying that the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and that the next best time is today. So what that means is perhaps you haven't been saving, or you have not been doing some of the things that we're talking about today. Well, you can start right away. You can start today. And you can also talk to your wife, your husband, and your kids so that you can do it together. And as a family, you'll be able to move forward in life. I hope you're having a good time. Now, we want to do a quick exercise. I would like you to go into the chat room and just give us an idea. How much do you think an average wedding in Nigeria costs? How much do you think an average wedding in Nigeria costs today? Please go into the chat room and just give us a number, give us a figure. How much do you think an average wedding in Nigeria costs today? Now, here are some savings and investment goals that people pursue, but you'll be interested. You'll be surprised to see how much some of these things cost. Someone says 50K. Oh, really? Wow. Someone says nothing less than 500,000. Wow. Someone says between 5 and 10 million naira. Average, in fact, there seems to be a consensus of 5 million. Wow. Someone says 1.8 million. Interesting. What about children's education? How much do you think an average education from preschool to university costs in Nigeria? How much does it cost? I mean, I saw a list. I don't know if you saw that list, but there was a list that was shared on social media recently showing different schools and how much those schools, particularly in VI and Ikoyi, charge for school fees. And these were mostly secondary schools. Wow, 20 million. Interesting. Oh, Temitope, you saw it. Nice. You saw the list I'm talking about. Now, why is this exercise important? This exercise just reinforces the need for us to save and invest. Now, these goals are laudable goals. Sending your children to the best school is a laudable goal. Getting married and making your day a memorable day is a laudable goal. You can do it with less than 1 million. You can do it with more than 1 million, depending on what you want to do. But what is important is to plan, save, and invest towards that goal. Okay? Because remember, wealth is a journey. And that's the point that we're trying to make here. Okay? Now, Albert Einstein talks to us about the power of compound interest. So it's not enough to save, but you should also invest it. And he says, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. Now, if you remember when Olubumi was talking to us about debt and debt management. Now, I'm sure some of you are wondering, what is Albert Einstein talking about people paying compound interest? Now, if you are not saving and investing, and if you are not living a life that you can afford, then you will end up paying compound interest because you would have a lot of debt. So compound interest is a two-edged sword and it works in two different directions. If you save and invest, you earn compound interest. But if you are not saving and investing and you're living a life that is beyond your means, then chances are you will end up in debt. And if you end up in debt, you will end up paying compound interest. So what would you rather do? Would you rather pay compound interest or would you rather earn compound interest? I mean, the buck stops with us, okay? Now, this slide seeks to address a key concern that a lot of people have shared with us over the last year, particularly with the way the markets have gone globally, given the impact of COVID-19. Now, what you see on this slide is the S&P 500 total return over the last 120 years. And as you can see from the performance, market is in circle. Markets are in circles. So sometime in the early 1900s, there was the depression that affected the world, the global markets, and the market dipped. But as you can see from the charts, the market started recovering, and then it kept recovering, and it kept going up. And then sometimes in the early 1980s, there was the phenomenon known as Black Monday, which again rocked the markets across the world. And then the market dipped again. But then again, the market recovered. And then it kept recovering until the 2008/2014 event again that happened, and disrupted the market. And then there was a dip. Now, as you can see from the pattern, every time there is a dip, it doesn't go as low as the previous dip. And then the market recovers again until 2020 when the COVID-19 happened again and the market dipped. So the point here is really about the time in market, our time in the market. And we typically advise people that if you have a sound investment advisor, maybe like Stanbic IBTC, and you're receiving advice from Stanbic IBTC, in terms of your investment, when you see those dips in the market, do not panic. Or like my MD likes to say, ma panic, do not panic. In fact, sometimes those deep in the market provide you an opportunity to consolidate your investment and take on cheaper assets, as it were. Now, this chart here just shows typically how people react. And that's why we're saying again, do not panic when you experience market cycles, because sometimes when you sell, when the market is depressed, you are realizing or crystallizing your losses. But if you wait in the market will recover, as you have seen eventually, and then you are able to then get out of those assets at a profit. So these are typical emotions that we go through when we want to invest. So we start with optimism. We're excited. We're euphoric. As the market is going up, we get very, very excited, okay? But then gradually, as you have seen, the market is in circles. So when the down cycle comes along, people get anxious, they go into denial, and they keep saying, oh, it will go back up, it will go back up. But then it keeps going back. Then they start panicking, and then they get desperate, and then they start selling off. But then they sell off at a loss, and then they get depressed, But then there is hope, because as we've demonstrated, the markets are in circles. So it will come back right up again, okay? So here are some of the questions that we've been asked in the recent past by different people. And some of these questions will be answered in the course of this presentation today. So my investment took a turn for the worst. What do I do now? I'm retiring soon and my pension value has dropped. What should I consider? And what are my options? What is the impact if I default on some of my loans, maybe house or car loans, over the long term? And how can Stanbic IBTC or Standard Bank help me on my financial journeys? These are some of the questions that I've seen a couple of people post similar questions in the chat area, and we'll be addressing some of these concerns in the course of this presentation. So right about now, I want to bring up Chidima once again. Chidima, please, can you turn on your video? Thank you, Chidima. So Chidima, would like to get some more insight from you, from your personal experience. So what are some of those goals that you've saved and invested towards, and how has that helped you in achieving some measure of financial independence or achieving your goals? Chidima, over to you.
Thank you very much, John. And at this point, I would like to share another personal experience around saving towards a particular goal. I would not say it's in the past because it's continuous. So 3 years ago, of course, when you have children, you start putting things in place, especially when you like to plan ahead. We're not saying that the unexpected will happen, but again, it's good to plan. So we started having deliberations, my husband and I, around the particular schools we would like to go at every given stage of his life. We would like for him to go at every given stage of his life. And we realized that some of these schools that we had already opted out for, from nursery to primary and then all up to, university, they were not schools that came cheap, So looking at our finances, we had to put together a plan. And then, of course, we also had a family holiday habit where the entire family, not just my primary family now, the entire family usually goes on this family break once in 2 years. So we had to put pen to paper and then agree that, for the next couple of family holidays, we might not be able to join the team. So we started saving towards the nursery school. We started saving towards the primary school. In fact, what we did was that we created different accounts for different journeys. So the primary, the university, and then the secondary school. We had different investment vehicles that we put those different monies in, right? So we started saving for that. And I will say, to the glory of God, we've achieved one, which is, the primary school today, and is a continuous process. So what that has done for us is that we've stripped ourselves from certain things that we're particularly involved in, and we have started seeing the effects of that kind of lifestyle, which is saving towards a particular goal. So thank you very much, John. It's a continuous process, and I will encourage everyone to, imbibe in it as well. So thank you very
thank you,
much.
Chidima. And I was going to quickly ask you, Chidima. So with these decisions that you've made as a family, are you guys any worse off? Are you?
No, we're not any worse off. We're not any worse off. So when I say we strip ourselves of certain things, for every item or commodity, there's an alternative, and that's the truth. So for us, even that family holiday, what we did was to create, buy internet data, so that when they're out, they are calling us and we're feeling like we're part of them. But I mean, the first time it was a bit not funny, but then again, we had our son, right, who was our primary responsibility. Holidays will always come. So we don't feel cheated. What we feel rather is more success, because we've achieved a particular goal that we have set ourselves
Beautiful.
for. Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you for being so honest and sincere with your insight. And that's what this is really about. Thank you so much, Chidima. This is what the Wealth Framework is about, really, for us to reflect deeply about our lifestyle choices and the financial goals that we have. So if you remember at the start of this particular quadrant, we mentioned that one of the easiest way to achieve your financial independence is to identify multiple long-term goals, different things that you want to save towards, and then break your income, in a way that you're able to save towards them. But then if you remember when Olubunmi was talking to us about budgeting, you really cannot save if you are spending more than you earn. And I think that was part of the decision that Chidima and her family had to make, where they decided that, we can always go on family holidays, but this is a priority for us now. And so they made that sacrifice, and they are better for it. So the question to us now is, what are those things that we also would like to save towards, and how are we going to go about it so that we're able to achieve our long-term goals? Please remember the QR code, and also remember the link in the chat area. You can scan the QR code or use that link so that we can get our experts to reach out to you on further explaining some of these things or answering other deep-seated questions that you might have regarding wealth creation and your wealth journey after this session. So thank you very much, everyone. I'm going to hand back. Okay, so I will take this session and then I will hand back to Olubunmi to take the final session. Now, this session, Share and Legacy, on the wealth framework, remember, there are two main things. There is making money, and then there is spending money. So the wealth framework is about making money and spending money. Now, we've looked at ways in which we can make money, and we've looked at one of the ways in which we can spend money. Now, Share and Legacy is another way in which we can spend money. And now Share and Legacy really speaks to how we invest in future generation and we impact the world. It's really not just about money. It could be how we spend our time, and it could be how we spend our passion to make a difference in the world. Now, as we all know, we live in what is called a karmic universe, which means that our actions have reactions and consequences to them. And so if we learn to use our monies judiciously to impact the world around us, if we learn to use our time judiciously to impact the world around us, if we learn to use our passion judiciously to impact the world around us, then there will be a ripple effect. It will come back around. It would impact us. It will impact our children, and it will impact even the children and our children's children. So that is what this is about. So what are some of the ways in which we could leave a legacy? You could give your time to your local community. You could give money to your local community. You could get involved in some sort of philanthropy. You could decide to leave an inheritance for your kids. You can start a family business, which would then be inherited by your children. You could invest in different alternative assets, or you could invest in your passion. If your passion is creating artworks, for instance, or doing photography, you could do that. Or you could support a charity, which is part of philanthropy. So we'd like you to reflect on how you will be able to leave a legacy. So think about it. What are the ways in which you will be able to leave a legacy. So think about ways in which you would like to use your time, think about ways in which you'd like to use your passion and your money to make a difference in the world. Now, while you're reflecting on that, here is a very, very interesting quote from Albert Einstein. And it says, it is every man's obligation to put back into the world at least the equivalent of what it takes out of it. It is every man's obligation to put back into the world at least the equivalent of what it takes out of it. So we cannot talk about our wealth journey and talk about making and spending money without us also reflecting on ways in which we can give back. Now, as I round up this session and hand back to Bumi, it's important to mention that you can actually budget for giving. So instead of having a lot of people come to you to ask for things, and at the end of the month, you've exhausted all of your income and you haven't been able to do the things that are important to you, you can set aside a certain amount for charity or for giving. And what that does for you, it also helps you to manage your income. So once you've exhausted that budget that you've set aside for charity, then you won't feel any guilt or feel bad when you tell people, oh, I've exhausted my budget for charity. Please come back next month or come back in 2 months' time. Okay. Now that also then helps you to focus on building your wealth, because then you've also budgeted other monies that you are saving for other financial goals. We hope that you're having a good time, everyone. And I'll hand back to Olubumi now to take us on the final segment of this session, which speaks to how we can protect our wealth. Bumi, over to you.
Thank you so much for that, John. I hope you're having a good time, and more importantly, that we are learning from the wealth, framework. Just a quick recap. Remember, we talked about, create and build, which speaks to how you make money. Then we talked about live and enjoy, which speaks to how you spend money, budgeting, avoiding debt as much as possible, and living within your means. We also talked about buying good assets and against buying bad assets. John talked about saving and investing, how you need to be deliberate and consistent, because that is when you really will reap the rewards of that process. Now, then, of course, we talked about giving it away and having a legacy. So now we're going to plan and protect. It's very important to state at this point that you cannot overprotect your wealth and your assets. Because remember, your wealth is your life, and your life is your wealth. Now, there's so many things you can do in terms of protecting your assets. One of them is insurance. I mean, it goes without saying. The second is protecting your family, which really goes to writing your will. Now, this is a topic that sometimes it's uncomfortable. People think it's morbid, and as part of our culture, it is something that we don't like talking about. We say, God forbid, it's not my portion and all that. But the truth is that, death comes to us all. Everybody at some point will pass on. It is inevitable. It is best you do what? You prepare for it. And we see this happen so many times where, the breadwinner of the family, whether it's the patriarch or the matriarch, and they built up their wealth, they've got a property, they've got different assets, and they do not write a will. And then, the unfortunate happens and he or she passes on. And the family is now left to struggle, to go to court, to get a letter of administration. Remember, at this time, it's an emotionally draining time, because you just lost a loved one, you just lost the breadwinner. Yeah, emotionally, all over the place. And, you're dealing with grief and loss. And now you have the added complication of running up and down to get, lawyers, courts, and it can be very messy. And I'm sure some of us are aware of some very public cases where there have been infighting within the family because a will was not written. So please, let us employ everybody present. Protect your family. Write your will. Protect your assets. Insure them. And there are so many different kinds of insurance available these days. I mean, the list literally is endless. You've got home content insurance, which is, the content of your home, your laptop, your flat screen, your sound system, your devices, washing machine, cookers, fridge, freezer. These are expensive items. And if something were to happen and there was a fire or whatever, and everything was gone, replacing them would cost a fortune. Why not just take home content insurance? And it's very, very cheap. For little as 10,000 naira. That's how cheap, some of these insurance can be. Travel insurance is another one. Anytime you travel, please make sure you get travel insurance, because if somebody falls ill while you're abroad, the medical bills can be totally out of this world. So the key message here really is protect yourself, protect your family, protect your assets. Write your will. Insure your things, because replacing them will be very, very expensive. So now I'm going to call on my colleague Anita to share a wonderful insight with us on this. Anita?
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. I've attended the FFAs a million times. Well, every time I attend an FFA, I come out learning something new. And so I have my notebook, I'm writing, and I hope you're doing the same, because the essence of the session is for us to go and reflect and apply these things in our lives. So for this plan and protect, I'll just share two stories around insurance. A friend of mine recently, last weekend, had an accident. His car is a Mercedes-Benz car, and there's no part of a Mercedes-Benz that you touch that you're not spending less. You're not spending less than 150,000 naira. Unfortunately for him, a motorbike ran into him in an expressway, and he knocked two people down. Fortunately, nobody died, but his side lights, his fender, everything was bad. He had to replace those things. And so when he was telling me the story, I just asked him, "I'm sure you have insurance now, so you're not going to spend that money." He says, "No, Anita, I don't have insurance." And somehow the first thing out of my mouth was, "You are driving a Mercedes-Benz in Lagos and you don't have insurance. Are you for real?" The truth is, if you drive in Lagos and you don't have comprehensive insurance, I don't know how you cope, because a typical Lagos road user is a bully. Let's not even go into the bikes and the keke and napeps. So please protect your assets by insuring it. And insurance right now is not expensive. It's not as expensive as we used to think. And the insurance companies are much more credible than they used to be when we were growing up. I'll share a second story. My kid brother, I gifted him a car. I had tried to do this Uber and it wasn't working. And I just got upset and gave it to him. At the time I gave it to him, there was insurance on it, so he didn't need to do insurance. And I said to him that, when this insurance expires, I'm not going to be involved in it. He said, okay, that he will do it. And I went about my business. So one bright summer Sunday, he calls me and says, "Oh, big sis, please call me back." And I called him back and he says, "I have just been involved in an accident. One downfall scratched the car. I'm just lucky I was alive." I said, "Thank God you're alive. I hope you did insurance." He said, "No, he didn't do insurance." And I'm like, "But we had this discussion." Guess what? The insurance he would have paid for was just about 30K max. The amount of money he spent to fix the vehicle, thankfully it was not a Mercedes-Benz, was like 3 times the value of the insurance premium if he had done insurance. So my point is, it is important to have insurance and not need it than to need insurance and not have it. My friend I talked about, he's spending nothing less than 2 million to fix his car. And I'm like, who spends 2 million unplanned? I can't. And so I know that I have insurance. Even my phone, this phone is going to 4 years. It is insured, because I can't be spending money that I did not plan. It's not just easy to even make money. So I'll implore you to think about it and insure as much as you can, because it gives you peace of mind. You know, you drive out there. I mean, nobody's going to hit my car on a good day and I'm going to come out and be screaming. I'm not going to hit anybody. I'm not a rough driver. But in the event I make a mistake and do that, and my insurance is going to take care of the bill. So I think in that aspect, a lot of people need to
about the friend who didn't get insurance for the Benz. I have a counter story about, somebody who went on holiday, and while she was gone, the house got raised. And she did not panic, she did not flinch, she did not break her holiday. She was like, no problem, it's insured. And, her whole house, everything was restored to its former glory. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the power of insurance. I mean, we cannot overemphasize it. And on the other part of the protection, which is your will, like I said, it's something that we tend to be uncomfortable talking about because we think, oh, yeah, do you want me to die? No, it's not about that, ladies and gentlemen. It's about protecting your family. And there is nothing like having that peace of mind that when the inevitable happens, my family members and those whom I have dedicated will get this particular asset I own will end up getting it. So please let us encourage you, go and write your will. I mean, there are other things you can do as well for your children. You can set up a trust, an education trust for your children, so that if anything happens to you, their education is still guaranteed and assured. I just remember what Chidima, the insight she shared about, her child are preparing for, his university fees. And I'll leave you with this quote from Ayn Rand. And it says, money is a tool. It will take you wherever you wish, but it will not replace you as the driver. So you are in charge of your life. You are in charge of your wealth journey. And it's important that you do what? You take charge of that car and you drive to where you want to go. At this point, I will hand you back over to John, who will round up the session for us. John, over to you.
Thank you, Olubunmi. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for hanging in there with us and going on this journey with us. We hope you've learned a lot of things from this. We hope you've thought differently about wealth, and we hope more than anything else that when you get home, you will share this with your significant others and your family so that together you can grow your wealth. Okay. Now, this last piece for me is always emotional and always very touchy, and that was the Plan and Protect piece. Anita's story and the stories that Olubunmi also shared, these are things that we can all relate to. With insurance, you protect yourself and you don't have to pay on budgeted and unplanned expenses. By just paying a simple premium annually, you are sure that you and your family are covered. Now, remember the QR code, okay? Kindly scan that code or fill the form that we had provided, the URL that we provided earlier. We need this so that we are able to reach out to you, okay? And that way, our experts can contact you within the next 24 to 48 hours. Also, would like to mention that LSETF will post a feedback form, and we please ask everybody on this call to complete the form. Please. LSETF is going to be posting a form shortly in the chat area. Please ensure that you fill that form, you complete that form, so that we can get feedback from you. Now, as we bring this to a close, and we're going to take some of the questions that we've seen in the chat area, and then perhaps we might be able to entertain one or two more questions, live questions from the audience, but would ask that you keep it as brief and as possible. But before we do that, we want to leave you with this very, very important quote by Greg Reed. And it says, a dream written down with a date becomes a goal broken down into steps becomes a plan backed by action makes your dreams come true. So please write down your goals today, break them into steps, and make sure you act on them. So I'm going to hand over to Bumi to lead the Q&A session. We're going to pick a few questions from the chat and ask our panelists to address these questions. And then perhaps if our host permits, we would ask one or two people to take a question. Now, they've posted the feedback form in the form of a poll. So if you're looking at your screen right now, you should see it. The poll is active, so please, you can go there and just provide your feedback. Olubumi, over to you for the Q&A session.
Thank you so much, John. So now we're going to Q&A session, and we have some questions already posted in the Q&A room. Some have been answered, and we'll hopefully address the others that are outstanding. So I have a question from Sayawere, which says, how do I start planning for retirement? I am above 50 and a business owner. John, you want to take this one?
Yeah, that's fine, Olubumi. Yeah, thank you very much. So, Osawere, that's a very, very good question, and we're glad that you're thinking about the future. Now, typically the question would ask is, one, if you did you work in a corporate setting before retiring and then starting your business? If you did, then perhaps you already have a contributory pension scheme under the new contributory pension scheme, where the employer does 10% and then the employee does 8%. Now, if you had that before you started your own business, now that you are 50, you can actually continue to make contributions on your behalf as a owner of that business under that pension, under the contributory pension scheme. And those contributions can then be made voluntarily. Now, on our website, we have a calculator. You can go to that calculator to determine how much you want to have when you retire. You can decide that you want to retire in 10 years or in 15 years' time, for instance, and then determine how much you want to be saving or setting aside today, so that you can live your chosen lifestyle at retirement. Now, if perhaps you had never registered in the contributory pension scheme, meaning that you were never in normal corporate employment under the contributory pension scheme, we have what is called the micro pension plan. And the micro pension plan is for people who are, business owners or not in formal employment, so that you can do contributions for yourself, so you can create your own plan towards your retirement, and then you can make contributions. There's no limit to how much you can make. You can make those contributions daily, weekly, monthly, however you want to make the contributions, and you can access 40% of that contribution after the first 3 months from the initial contribution. You can access 40% for contingencies or other things that you want to do, while 60% will be held, until when you retire, and then be paid to you as a pension. Now, one of the advantage of the micro pension plan is that a lot of people who own their own business never really think about retirement, never really think about the future. And what they end up doing is they end up working till they drop. But with a plan like the micro pension plan, saving something as simple as 500 Naira daily, for instance, or 5,000 Naira monthly, over the next 5 to 10 years, you'll be amazed at how much you would have as a sort of safety net. So yes, you are doing other investments like real estate and all of that. But with the micro pension plan, you know that even if all else fails, you have a plan that is secure, that will help you take care at least of some of your bills, if not all of your bills, when you choose to retire. So you can come up with a plan, a 10-year plan, a 15-year plan, as long as you're above 50 years, for instance, and then save towards it. And I think that would really help you. Again, you can fill the QR code or use the link that we've provided so we can get experts to talk to you a bit more regarding your concerns, so that we know, a bit more what it is that you need. Thank you very much, and we'll be back to you.
Thank you so much for that, John. Wonderful feedback. So on to the next question from Wakanda Forever. Please, how can one insure one's mobile phone in Nigeria? I do not know of such companies. Well, I'll quickly take this one. There are so many, the list is endless. We can recommend an insurance broker to work with, because they can then shop for the best quotes for you. But again, if you have such a need, please feel free to put it in that QR code scan that you would do, and just indicate that's something that you would like to have a conversation about, and we'll reach out to you subsequently. The next question from no name, just Infinix S4, says, please, how can those of us that we don't have big business can go for insurance? So I think the question is, even though I have a small business, how can we, insure that small business? I'm assuming that is the question. Anita, since you gave an insight on Plan and Protect, do you want to take this one? Anita, she there?
Yes, I can. I was struggling with technology. Okay, so and I'm just going to share what happened. So no matter how small your business, it's important that you protect your assets. Yeah, we remember the unfortunate NSAS. What was that thing called now? I don't know what to say. It was riot, peaceful protest, and how it then ended up into destruction of properties. For those of us who were in Lagos, what we found out was a lot of small business, a lot of fledgling business, as a result of nothing that they did. It was not their fault. So we also discovered that if you go to the Circle Mall at Jakonde, that and not test that destroyed their shoes, conflicts, imported conflicts, soap, all of those things from America. She puts it inside a car. Somebody who is buying a car and importing it to Nigeria, she just finds space, puts up. But I had to sit her down and make her do insurance. And insurance is as little as, you can pay as little as 20,000 to cover goods worth up to 3 million. It just depends on ability of your broker to shop for good rates for you. So the size of your business is not the important factor. What's important is, in case there's a loss, would you be able to recover from it? And if the answer is no, then please insure your business. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for that. So yes, I mean, it's to insure. I think is the best way I can answer that question. So the next question I have here is it right to start off a new business with bank loan, by Daphne? Chidima, are you there? Do you want to take this one? Chidima, are you there? Okay. I can attempt to answer this one since I've worked in the bank. So with a business, as most investors or financiers will tell you, that the key to having a successful business is really having a good idea. Now, once you have a good idea and a good product or a good service, then the rest will tend to fall in place. Now, for most small businesses, they are financed mostly by self, friends, and family. That is the honest truth. They form the majority of the sources of finance for that business. A bank loan, comes in usually afterwards when the business is up and running and can show that it can sustain itself. Because remember, the bank is giving you depositors money, and that money is going to come at a cost. So can your business absorb that cost and still make a profit so that you can pay off the bank, principal and interest, and still be able to sustain your business, make a profit, and stay in business? So it's, in an ideal world, you could say yes to get a bank loan, but in the environment that we are in, a bank loan can be very expensive, which will really inhibit your ability to grow that business. So it's really a case of, if you can afford to start a business without a bank loan, we would say do that, because it's safer and you don't have the complication of having to deal with a loan. Because taking on a loan, remember we talked about in the wealth framework that taking on debts that you can't afford can cripple you and can ruin your business. And we've seen it happen, on quite a number of occasions. So that is my answer to that question, Daphne. Okay, so a question from Ruth that says, is relaxation compulsory? Well, all medical research tells us that all work and no play. You cannot make Jack a dull boy, but can actually kill Jack. So yes, I think relaxation is a compulsory part of life. And even if you look at the wealth framework, whereas while you are making money, there's also a live and enjoy part of it, which is spending the money. So you can't just work, make money. You also have to find time to relax, enjoy, spend the money, and live life, as they say. Next question from Daphne is, I have a debt of 5 million, which I have been making efforts to offset in the last years, but the huge family responsibilities is not allowing me save towards this debt repayment. Please advise me on how best to go about it. My business right now is not doing very good due to COVID-19 impact. Okay, I'll quickly speak to this since I took the Live and Enjoy, which also spoke about debt. Now, with taking on debt, like we said, you have to look at the full implication. Now you are in the debt already, so we've already passed that stage. Now you have to look at how to clear that debt as quickly as possible. And sacrifices will have to be made, Remember the budgeting that we said. Whenever you do your budget, you have to allocate enough resources to try and clear that debt. It means you're going to have to deny yourself certain things. If you have assets that you can sell, remember it's one of the solutions that we put forward. If you have assets that you can sell for cash, then sell some of those assets, because it does not make sense to have something cash tied down, or you have an investment that is earning you maybe 5%, and then you have a loan running at 15, 20%. I mean, it doesn't add up. So find a way to raise money. If you have an asset that you can sell, please sell those assets and get cash. But really, it's all about budgeting and prioritizing, your expenses. We're practically out of time. So I guess this last couple of questions, maybe we'll take it offline or we'll just type it in the room. And I think that is it for the Q&A session. And I'll hand you back over to Omomi, who will then round up the session. Thank you.
So much, Bumi. Thank you to all the facilitators. I've written down so much. I'm like, okay, there's just so much to learn, and some of it is stuff that you have one, has known before, but it's just the way that you have put it, you put it so simply, and, so thank you so much to the Stanbic IBTC team. And so for everyone that has joined today, everyone that completed the polls, thank you as well. We always try to ensure that we get these polls completed because they help us plan future events. And we take your feedback on board and we implement them for future sessions. And just to also let you know that this is one of the many sessions we'll be running with this partnership with Stanbic IBTC. I believe we will run these monthly, or depending on the feedback, we will run it bi-monthly. So just to make you aware of that. So I'm not going to take up any more of your time. I'd like to say a very big thank you to our partners, Stanbic IBTC, for collaborating with us on this very, very successful event today, and also to all the attendees. We couldn't have done it without you. Remember, wealth framework. Make money, spend money, save money. So yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you. And yes, like Bumi had said, any questions that haven't been answered, I think my email address was in the registration link. Please send your questions and we'll try to answer all of them offline. So a final bye-bye from me. John, would you like to say one or two words before we call it a day?
Thank you, Omomi. I want to say a big thank you to everyone for participating. We are very, very grateful to you. Please do reach out to us, reach out to Omomi, and we will definitely come back to you on all your questions and your concerns. Thank you very much and have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Take good care. Have a great day and stay safe. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.